And I liked your point. So many people blame government. In fact, there's a joke here. What was it?
Government Etuyambe.
Government Etuyambe. You know? They go, they throw rubbish on the road, and then they ask the government to clean the rubbish.
Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. This is the Repart podcast. My name is Johnny Tamaya and I am joined by, I'll start on my left here.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Julie. Thank you for having me again.
We love to have you here.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Maintain DJ and producer, Caribbean, living in Kampala now for 5 years.
Okay.
I am technically a doctor, but I'm not practicing. But I'm a doctor in Negroology now.
Oh, good.
So this is Negro State University, O'Shea Duke Jackson, PhD in everything black, and glad to be here. Okay,
that's a very good intro. Now the doctor himself with a PhD in Negro, can I say it?
Yeah, Negroology.
Yeah. Shared a link with us. We're going to watch it with you guys and react to it. So join us.
You're going to have to be serious about economic freedom. And that's exactly what he did. That's what Singapore did. When Singapore figured that out, they went on to put in the right reforms to make their environment some of the most business-friendly environments in the world, one of the most free markets environment in the world. And you saw the magic of Singapore. Today, Singapore is richer than its ex-colonizer, Great Britain. So when I hear people telling me today, oh, Africa is poor because of colonization, I'm like, please, let's move on from that. Does it have maybe a tiny percentage in where we are today? Maybe, and I don't know. But I know it's not the cause. Because if it were, countless countries have been colonized before. And by the way, colonizing one another is humanity's history. It just happened that maybe Africa has been one of the last, colonized region in the world. So in our psyche, it is there and it acts like nothing happened before to others. But flash news, it's the history of the world. We've been capturing each other back and forth, all of that. So anyway, but the truth is, Singapore, richer than Great Britain today. And then Hong Kong.
You had her right there. Africa is not poor because of colonization. That's what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and shout out to Jordan B. Peterson on YouTube. That's where the link is from.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, what do you think about this? Is it true that Africa is not poor because of colonization? Do you think there's some other factors that have maybe contributed to how the continent is?
Yes and no.
Please let us know.
Of course, we can't ignore I can't ignore how colonization took us back, not forward, because they needed to get their free raw materials. I said the European governments need to get their raw material out without much, without taxes and everything. So they had to, empty our brains and put the wrong Bible inside, okay? Mm-hmm. That one is there. But also no, because African leadership is bad. Most African leaders get greedy. The corruption is off the chain. It's so embarrassing sometimes to see, like, say, a president lives in France and then travels back home to Cameroon or Gabon and goes through the international, not as a national, the international, comes back home as a foreigner, but he's still milking his own country. So that is the problem, because if our leaders were strong enough or smart enough, I'd rather say smart enough, because usually when they show their strength, they are eliminated, especially Francophone Africans. There have been 22 African leaders who have been assassinated, and most of them are Francophones. So that's already a sign, like, don't mess with France.
Yes.
Okay. So we need to be smarter about it, because a few countries which are smart, like, for example, Botswana, Rwanda. I mean, Rwanda has left Uganda.
We're not
like it's another century, another decade or two ahead of us. Same thing with Botswana. They've used their diamond to develop the desert areas, to develop their education system. It's very modern, So it's a back and forth. Colonization definitely had a part in underdeveloping Africa, but again, we can't use it as the only reason. Our leadership is a problem.
Yes.
Okay, Maintain. What do you think about what the lady said?
I'm a bit like yourself. I'm like, what she's saying in theory is correct. Yeah, we need to move forward, etc. But let's not like downplay the role colonialism has had.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the sole reason for all the problems, but it's a major reason. And I don't like how she just tried to just brush it off.
Yeah.
Maybe it was for effect. Maybe she was emotional at the time. I don't know. But I just don't like the way she brushed it off because it's just dangerous. But we do need to move forward from it. Like when I'm in Kampala, I'm driving around, I see Prince Charles Drive
Right.
and things like that.
Kenneth Dale Road.
Yeah, Lake Victoria, Lake out. No, things like this, like independent now, they do nothing for you. Let's move on, rename these things, and for the betterment of everybody. So that's how I feel about it, because a lot of the greed in government and private sector or wherever was basically watched firsthand by Ugandan people or whatever African country on the continent was watching it, and they picked up the greed and the bad habits from the colonizers.
You think so?
So yeah, and so that needs to be separated. That's why I mentioned the road names and the lake names and things like that.
Yeah.
Complete separation from their ways and their names.
Okay.
So I'm right down the middle with it.
50-50.
Yeah.
Okay. O'Shea.
I was trying to be funny and look up the Singapore's first president.
Yeah.
I don't know his name, but I remember that Singapore was actually very destitute. In fact, they were a part of Malaysia and were kicked out of Malaysia. And so they had nothing. So Singapore didn't even have any natural resources at this time. I remember Kenya used to give Singapore money. I believe Uganda used to give Singapore money. So from the jump, Singapore didn't have any natural resources to compete with anybody. So then what do? You say, okay, look, we're close to these other countries in Asia. You bring your skills here, you bring your investment here. And again, people think that governments create jobs, and they don't. Governments make it easier for corporations to be investors or for financial transparency. I'm going to come to the point in a minute. But Singapore had even a dictatorship, if you want to call it like that, because the guy was there for like 34 years.
Yeah.
But my God, the guy is probably one of the best leaders in modern history in the last 50, 60 years. He did some great things with public housing. Instead of just giving people free housing, let the state control it, he let people buy the housing because they would take care of it, and they gave them a lower rate. So that's great leadership, right? So that's something that Africa typically has not had. And if they did have it, like she talked about Francophone West Africa, there's Thomas Sankara who's eliminated. But one of the reasons that Singapore was not really eliminated because they're not really a threat. Nobody expected them to become anything. They didn't have anything. And I'll say this too, Rwanda is very similar to Singapore. They don't have a lot of resources.
They don't.
So if Rwanda was Congo, would Rwanda look like that? We don't know. Outside forces may have an issue with it. But when you're Uganda, you're Congo, you're Nigeria, well, hey, yeah, we can't let you develop like Rwanda, possibly because of what you may become in the world. So that's one thing. So colonization plays a factor there. But also look at what we're facing right now with the Free Africa Free Trade Agreement. We've had, I think, almost every country ratify outside of Eritrea. But the issue is what? There's no infrastructure. So when the colonizers were here, look at the ports. Where do they lead to? Anything that leads to, in Africa, most raw goods go where? They go out. So there's no manufacturing bases that happen here. There's no value addition that happens. And then you could even get something from, let's say, Uganda to London before you can get it to like Uganda to Burundi. So those are factors of colonization for sure. But now also, we must take into account, and I'm about accountability. If we want to say Africa has bad leadership, that's just a start. A lot of Africa is not in general. Like, we're just not going to talk about just the leadership, right? We're going to talk about everything. That includes its diaspora. That includes people like me, right? We have never really come out with the solutions like the other diasporas have done, like China. China was at one point like 40% of their diaspora, and they contributed. They solved problems. And our diaspora has the ability to solve those issues, and then we don't. And then we also have those governments who come in who are not, like I said, and that goes to bad leadership. The diaspora can't really contribute, or they don't. And then the governments are afraid of the diaspora at the same time, which is different from India. Look what happened in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone calls out its diaspora, calls them troublemakers. They're the biggest contributors to the country. You know, you have a lot of African diaspora where if you live outside of the country, Nigeria gives more money than maybe trying to invest in Nigeria. Can't vote when you're overseas. So the problem is very, it's manifold. Why Africa is not developed, right? And you just see Africa as this like elephant with this tie around this little branch, and it can't break it, it can't pull it. So colonization is one thing, and obviously Africa has many minerals and things like that. And you know, Singapore is a bad example in certain cases because they don't have anything. If Singapore was like Congo, Singapore wouldn't be Singapore. I honestly believe that.
Agreed.
So with that being said, because Africa is so rich and so versatile, we are at war in the Black world. So leadership is great. People sign bad loans and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then the diaspora is also not stepping up. So bad leadership, and then you have a diaspora that's not progressive enough, is why your people are always going to be behind. So one has to be, you cannot expect African leadership to get better. It's not going to happen. African leadership and Black leadership all over the world is a joke, even in America, in Black cities. Look at Detroit, look at Jackson, Mississippi, Atlanta. It's pathetic. Nobody takes Black people in leadership serious in the world. We know that, okay? Only a few gems, Botswana, Rwanda, people like that, some certain places. Everybody else is a joke almost for the most part. The diaspora has to step up for anything in the Black world to be successful. If they don't, Africa and Black people will continue to be the laughingstock of the world, which we are right now. So it's the truth.
Yeah. What's funny is that there's so many people in the comment section for this particular video, and everyone was agreeing with her, saying so many people use colonization like as they hide behind it.
Yes.
And they don't take accountability for what they're not doing.
Can I just say this real quick before we go back to like, you know, every time since I've been living in Africa, when something happens, people want to blame the government. But I'm dealing with this person here on the street or that attorney, right? It's everybody else's fault why something didn't happen. That's what people, as Black people, we're dealing with each other as Blacks. We're not dealing with the African Union. When I say I'm supposed to pay you and I don't, well, okay, what's the African Union's fault? You don't want to hear that, do you? You're dealing with me because I promised you something, I didn't do it. And that's big here. Go drive on the street. You will see, I'm on a bike the other day. This is. I'm gonna explain this as much as I can. I'm on the bike going towards Village Mall, right? My guy on the bike doesn't have the right of way. This guy has the right of way. My biker is trying to make a turn like this, so he blinks his thing. So he goes anyway. The guy almost hits us. He gets mad at the guy. I'm like, and this is common in African traffic. Like, you make the mistake and you yell at the person that and you're in the wrong. I said, bro, you didn't see that car coming? But I blinked. I said, what does that mean? Do you know how driving works? He had the right of way. You were wrong. And telling that guy he was wrong, he didn't understand it for like 10 minutes. But this is the mindset you have here. Everybody believes they're right when they're not. And so that ain't got nothing to do with the government. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I get it. Now, this is hypothetical, but do you think Africa, without colonization, where do you think Africa would be right now?
Oh, it would be in a better place. But I think also would have some challenges. For example, communication, because our languages are vast. For example, Uganda, we have 40 tribes and 60 languages.
Yeah.
So imagine how we'd be communicating. All right. So that is something. But definitely one of the things that shocked the colonizers was they found kingdoms in Africa. They thought it was coming to shoot an elephant or a lion, step on it and sleep with a savage girl. Well, they found people organized, you know, especially the Great Buganda Kingdom. I just got a tweet the other day at Teddy Roosevelt came to Uganda in 1909 after retiring, and he was shocked to find that there was that the Buganda Kingdom, the hierarchy of the kingdom was good as the House of Hanover. So House of Hanover is like the German and the UK kingdoms, and they had parliament and everything, and they had like around 300 representatives. And not only that, they had industries. Yeah, and there was a man called W.E. Du Bois.
Yes, Du Bois. African American.
In 3 years back, he found Baganda making guns, not repairing, literally making guns. They had got that craft from the Arab traders. Yeah, and then also when Roosevelt came, he was shocked to find the Buganda Orchestra singing the American national anthem.
Whoa.
Okay. And that's when he said, it changed his mind. He said, when he went back after visiting Buganda, he went back and was trying to tell the white people, like, look here, Africans are actually intelligent and they're organized. All right. But now today, it's a problem. Also, he found out that Africa was the number 1 iron exporting continent in the world. What happened to us? And I liked your point. So many people blame government. In fact, there's a joke here. What was it?
Government Etuyambe.
Government Etuyambe.
Yeah.
They throw rubbish on the road, then they ask the government to clean the rubbish. All right. It's really, we need to motivate, we need to drive ourselves.
Right.
Honestly, the best drive is yourself. The most important mineral in Africa, I believe, is the people.
It is.
It's the people. But we don't know that ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
And it's very sad because, like, I remember when we would organize ourselves for, like, say, there was usually student expositions at our universities. The worst group were the Africans. They would not organize, or if it's a business forum, you don't find Africans. Asians are there. Asians are the first ones in. Okay. But let's say, let's have a party. Yeah, Africans come out. You see, a party is at 5:03, they are there knocking at your door. So we need to change that mindset. I'm not saying don't have fun.
Yeah.
Play hard, but work hard too. We need to organize us. That's why we get one of the worst trade agreements or trade treaties, because we don't organize ourselves. We're like,
right.
what does it mean in terms of money?
Yes.
The dollars and cents.
Right.
What does it mean in terms of our future?
Right.
Because we all know now that Europe wants us to stay underdeveloped so that they take our raw materials.
Yes.
What are we doing about it?
That's true.
We just complain on Kalisoli, so on what? We should be doing something about it. Yeah. Some people are saying, if we do it, the Europeans will take us to war. So be it. But these are our minerals. I mean, cobalt, the cobalt we are using, that is being taken out of Congo free of charge, is the one that is charging our phones. So all the Samsungs and Apples should be in Congo.
Yeah.
All anything electronic, computers, they should be, all the computer hubs or computer companies should be in Congo. But that won't happen. That won't happen.
Okay. And Maintain, what do you think? Do you think Africa would be in a better place if they were not colonized?
Yeah, I think it would be. To what extent? That is will always be a question, because we'll never know. But I believe it would be in a better place. In terms of moving forward, I think war might just might have to happen.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because any African country that puts their foot down over their resources, raw material, is going to face issues.
Sanctions, assassinations.
All of that. And if African countries start doing that, say, no, you're not coming in here and just taking and going back to
they'll sabotage
the West.
you.
Yeah.
And look at South Africa now. It's horrible. Yeah.
So
they want the ANC out. Who could believe that one day the ANC would be this dysfunctional? And it's really bad now. They don't have electricity.
Yeah, the load shedding is mad.
The crime is crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Food is now, there's shortage of food. They have famine in some places. So it's very sad to see SA the way we all were like, if SA is free, the whole of Africa is free.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we're like, what?
I know. Elshay, what do you think if Africa wasn't colonized?
I think it's a convoluted question, but I mean, because let's look at some of these other places. let's say if they were not colonized, let's look at Qatar or UAE or Singapore. Like UAE was living the same life, or Saudi Arabia, as Jesus was living 2,000 years ago, just 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the colonization, they got new skills and new experiences. And again, I know some people in the comment section are going to be mad, right? But the Europeans obviously were able to take Africa because they had better technology and certain systems that were better. So I don't think Africa would have been able to have those systems and technology the way that the Europeans had to because of the weather. Because remember, it was cold in Europe, so they had more things they had to do, and Africa didn't have to do as much survivalism things that Europe had to because of the climate, I believe. Mm-hmm. So I think that colonization helped Saudi Arabia. It helped Egypt. I'm talking about modern Egypt. Mm-hmm. It helped Singapore in the right way. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if Africa would have become like that, because based on these other countries that were living, maybe it was good for the time. Mm-hmm. But as far as some of the stuff like processing oil, like Singapore is like one of the biggest. They don't have any oil, but they process the most. I don't think that would have happened.
Yeah.
So I think that colonization could have had its benefits in this negativity, more negative than positive. So I don't think Africa would have become like a first modern state that we see in the United States right now without that intervention. Because the United States and Europe, they've been talking to each other for many years. Mm-hmm. And in Africa, we know that communication wasn't, it's still a problem now. To talk from Uganda to Togo or Uganda to Kenya has always been it's a problem now connecting from Uganda to Kenya on a flight. It's expensive. So driving from Uganda to Kenya is hard. But from, let's say, New York City to Toronto, it's always been easy in the north. So people were able to exchange more information. I think if Africa had an ability to exchange information like the West, sure. But we now know that the information wasn't shared like that because of technology. So I think I'm on the fence on that.
Yeah.
What I will say is that also, with some of the things that Africa learned from its colonizers,
like greed.
Well, I think greed is a human thing.
Yeah.
But I think like they lost some of its identity. Like Botswana, for example. Botswana is one of the only countries that rule more or less on traditional law. And it's more of a African created democracy. It's ran more or less on that. So the Botswana is successful because of its dedication to how it has originally settled differences. And when they got those diamond mines, it didn't become a part of a tribe, but a part of the country. Mm-hmm. That was the good leadership of Botswana's first president. I forgot what his name was, but he was probably the best president Africa ever had. Now, with the tribalistic wars outside of that judgment, because what you see in Africa is a lot of bad judgment. For one kingdom, yes, might have flourished more so than the other. You would see Buganda maybe still flourishing. But could you say the same thing maybe for the other kingdoms? I don't think so. I don't know. I think you might see kingdoms becoming bigger, but now it would still be war. So I just think that I'm there, mm-hmm. but I still think that the judgment that has always helped. Because how did Africa get colonized? How did Africa get defeated in the first place? It was bad judgment.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to my boy about this the other day. He was talking about all these reasons about Africa and, white men. I said, who are the first people? He said, blacks. How did you lose if you're the first people? If they came from us? He gave me all these excuses, and you can't get around the fact that if you're the first people and you say that we're the original people and they come from us, how did your son beat the father? So obviously, the father got beat by the kids. How does that happen? So something happened such that the father stopped learning and stopped developing, and the son started developing more. Yeah. So that would have still eventually happened. Mm-hmm. And black folks don't want to talk about that. We always say we the first people in the world. Then how do you explain that white man over there that rules the world and you don't? Mm-hmm. You used to rule it. You stuck in it 2,000 years ago. First it was Rome, right? That was 3,000 years ago. Then now all of a sudden it's everybody. Now the Arabs, invasion. So how come you left out? Black folks don't want to talk about the fact that we got beat for a reason. So what was their reason for? See, we start talking about that, then all of a sudden you'll sell out and you're everything else. We lacked in development somewhere, or we stopped growing. We lost our way. So we lost our way in spite of the white folks coming. Because if that was the case, when they came, they would have all been slaughtered. Game over. But something happened. What was that happened? So I feel like Africa will probably not as be developed as the West. That's what I think.
That's true. True.
Yeah. Can we also talk about the countries that were non-colonized but are not developed? I don't know if that makes
Like
sense.
Ethiopia?
Oh yeah, that was intentional with the colonial masters.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah, because if you rejected them outrightly, they would isolate you trade-wise. They would take away any possibility of you to trade, and every human being has to trade something. You know, you might have excess matoke, but you need sugar or something. So before the money, we used to trade. Okay, and then also so Ethiopia. Let's say before even Ethiopia, Haiti. By the way, shout out to Haiti.
Yeah.
Or Haiti. We should be learning Haiti more than even France and what, because those guys were smart enough to organize themselves and also deal within. Because another thing I feel sad about our Africans, us as people, and even as a leadership, we don't, when we get problems, we don't sit down and work together to solve it. We're always looking to Mr. Muzungu to help us out. Like it's so embarrassing. Usually, like when you see these opposition leaders, yes, NRM is not an angel, but taking your business onto the streets, as Americans says, it's not good. Because I used to really hate it when I was in China, and would be like, yeah, let's go as a united force, Ugandan students, and we do this and this. And then as soon as the cameras start rolling, or a white man comes and starts saying, oh, we hate you, Uganda is terrible, they're torturing us, blah, blah, blah. And for Noof, you know, like even if you're in Noof, I mean, this is a Ugandan stance, you know. I hated that kind of betrayal, you know. And yet you'd find, like, say, the Arab Africans, they would never do that. Yeah. The Kenyans would beat their fellow Kenyans if they said that manyanga, that nonsense. And the South Africans would never do that. They would be like, no, you're embarrassing us and everything. So we need to find a way to solve our own problems, our own way. That's why I loved Gachacha in Rwanda. Because when this genocide happened, they were like, no, you have to use the French justice system. They would have imprisoned the whole country. And they had to say, no, let's use our old ways of how we'd solve this problem. And we see who to sentence and put to jail, or who can do community service. And majority of them are doing community service. So it's better than having like 70% of the country in jails. Of course, there would be an uprising or a mutiny or something. So we need to go back to ourselves. Whether it's our old system or the modern way, we need to go. Two, we need to be careful about who we trade with. We shouldn't just smile because someone splashes you money. You know, splashing you. In fact, if you splash me money, then I know you want something more that I have, or something you've seen that I don't see. See that, yeah. Because I mean, our raw materials. Imagine they take our raw cotton and it ends up in M&S. So the cotton goes for 1 kilogram. Okay, say 10 kilograms go for 20 pounds. And M&S shirt is usually 30 pounds.
Right.
30, 50 pounds.
Yep.
Yeah. So imagine how much we are losing out. Same thing with the AGOA Act. The AGOA Act was supposed to open our economy to the American market. But you see what's happening. All the second-hand things have flooded our countries. Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. So the AGOA Act is definitely not helping us. But will our leaders get together and say, no, this is enough. Enough is enough. It has been here for 30 years or 25 years. Let's find a better way, a better way to get this act improved, or scrap it. You won't find it. Already someone is being bribed on the right, on the left, on that kind of thing. Even before they enter the rooms, you know. Or like you see the recent elections, most Nigerians wanted the young candidate. But this old man came back.
Tinubu?
Tinubu or something. And they made really good caricatures out of it. They showed
he's still sleeping all the time and
sleeping. And there's a cartoon where they showed like people racing, and then Buhari is handing over the IV and the what to Tinubu.
Instead of a baton.
Yeah. Because Buhari, in his time, he has been to the UK over 300 times because of medical issues. But the Nigerian hospitals are there. Why isn't he using them? Okay, so he's also Tinubu also going to start flying out to UK just for simple, Panadol or what, or simple checkups.
Yeah.
I mean,
let me just build on this. This is where the diaspora, and I know Dr. Julie doesn't like some of my polarization on the podcast. And I know it's a lot for people, but I think that what I've noticed from some of the elites that I've come across here in Africa is that they have no idea what the average person goes through.
Yeah.
And let me just be honest. I have no idea what the average person goes through, but it is a skill that I'm trying to develop. It's like, what is the average life like for the average Ugandan, and how can that be improved? But now, I think a lot of times these people that got into government, and I was looking at this very famous economist here on NTV. He's an older guy now. He even taught at Florida A&M. He might be in his 80s now. He's living here in Uganda. Do you know what I'm talking about? This is a very popular economist.
Is he Asian or Ugandan?
Black.
Or black? Is he Asian or black?
He's Ugandan. He's a famous Ugandan economist. Don't know the guy's name.
Is he? What are his futures?
He's old.
Yeah.
He told me. He said? He's like, he was Minister of Finance for 20 years ago. He said, even when I was there, I was not.
Suruma?
Yes. I was not listened to. So here's somebody who has a PhD. He's taught at Florida A&M. He's a fellow for Brookings Institute, which is a very prestigious, right? So here's somebody who's tried to understand. If nobody understands local people, even if you don't live there, economist's job is to try to understand what the local person goes through. And even when you deal with certain people on certain boards here, they just don't care. I've even went to certain people. This is real reality. We will produce X, Y, and Z for this particular board for free. We just want to get the word out. And they look at you like you're crazy. So there's a lack of empathy from the people who are already going to get their money and for the people that are there. And they don't care about those people because for whatever reason, it's not me. It's not my problem. And you have that attitude. And you don't have an Africa that cares about, in general, how, like this person that's in Kamocha, that person might be the next chemical engineer that discovers something.
Yeah.
But because that person doesn't have the resources, that person's riding a boat. But you're not, you don't understand that person is even more talented than you. You see? And that's why America is so good. America, you can come from anywhere in America. Western Kentucky, whatever. But that person's smart. America gonna come get you. Look, that guy has an IQ of 200. Get him right now. Where is he at? He's in India in the village. Get him. Bring him here. His whole family.
Check this out. Someone sees you have an IQ of 200. You're very smart and says, this guy or she is going to take my job. Let me step on him.
Yeah, that's different. Here. So it's hard where you don't have resources to develop your people. And just, that's where the diaspora has to come in. The diaspora and even podcasts like this, we have to develop the talent. It's clear that governments are not going to do it. And to be honest, governments maybe should not do it.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be corrupt when they're doing it. So where's the diaspora at? And I got to call out certain diasporas. Where's the Ugandan diaspora on this? Where's the Kenyan diaspora on this? And for those who are coming back to Africa, where's the African American diaspora? And then we're the ones that have to come in and say, okay, we have these things, we have this money. Then the HBCUs are trying to get involved. We should have programs where we can't train agriculture, go to Prairie View A&M in Houston, and get a PhD and come back here to Africa. Those things we have all the tools there that we can, but we have to connect the dots. So the diaspora has to continue to play a bigger part because we have the money. The diaspora, and we have some of the people here in Africa that are rich. But the diaspora they're the ones that really can't be controlled by governments. So the diaspora has to put the pressure on and develop systems. So then governments will have to, just like governments have to basically bow to China. The diaspora gives more money than China does. But the money the diaspora is giving is to the individual and not to governments. That's why the diaspora is nullified here in Africa. But the diaspora has to continue to make its strides. We need to have more talks and engagements. The money is already there. We ain't worried about the money because it's there. It's there to be had. But if we don't get together and start to solve these issues, it's not going to happen.
Because one of the things I love about Kenya and Tanzania, they have that community build up, ground up. Like if they see a really smart person, they'll do harambe or jama, and they say, okay, let's take this smart kid or let him do his medicine, come and take care of our community. But he has to promise. It's not like he's going to say, yeah, I'll go and then maybe work in another area of the country. But I, very few people, I've seen it amongst some people here.
Yeah.
I wish it would grow.
Yes.
I wish it would grow. You know, especially like now I came back home, found this circle craze. Are you in a circle? And I'm like, why should I be in a circle?
Yeah.
You get our money together and do what with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you get your money, you just count it and then they shit out. What are you doing with it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Because this is very powerful.
Yeah.
You need to know how you're going to use this money.
Yes.
And how you're going to replenish it.
Yes.
You know, don't go and buy because you're now rich. You buy another Benz, or buy another wife. No.
True.
All right.
Yeah.
What about the future of your children?
Right.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
So we need ourselves. We also need to work on ourselves.
True.
Yeah.
True.
True.
Go ahead, build it up, maintain. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
No, go on, Jenny. Yeah,
No, just wanted to
I'll hold
ask-
on to my point.
Yeah. No, you know what to say.
Okay, yeah, no. One thing I was thinking of, I'm going back to the video with the lady. Comparing countries' experiences is dangerous. That's what I feel. It's like you're comparing apples and pears, right?
Okay.
Every country comes with its own unique situations due to where they are in the world, resource-wise, etc. So, you know, as the diaspora, as we are, when we look outside, they were once down, now they're up. Why can't we be like them? Our issues are individual, like they're unique to Uganda, they're unique to Kenya, they're unique to Rwanda. So we must always keep that in mind. It's not as simple as, Singapore have done it, China have done it. Why haven't we? I mean, situations are different as to why people develop at different rates and things like that. So I think that has to be something that has to be very careful when you speak like that on an open platform like social media.
Let me just say this real quick because he made a great point. You know, when Lumumba took over Congo, they only had like 16 college graduates. So I don't know. Like, look at Russia after the Berlin Wall fell down.
Yeah,
but they came back, even though their economy was completely destroyed. But they had something. They were still smart. Yeah. They still had skills. They were the first to go to the moon. So they had first world education. So even though their economy was destroyed, it didn't take Russia that long to become. They knew how to do everything. Whereas when you're starting, and you make an excellent point, I really didn't think about that. When you're talking about Singapore, we don't know how many college graduates they had. We don't know how many technical people that they had. We know Uganda didn't have that many. Maybe Uganda had some. No, Uganda had some because Uganda had McCary. So McCary was still pretty good. But insofar as to how to run this new government, I think also with Kwame Nkrumah in 1957 getting liberation, and Milton Obote, Kenneth Kaunda, Zambia, they were very influenced by Kwame Nkrumah. But also, I think if you look back, I think getting independence so fast was a detriment to certain African countries.
Especially Uganda.
Yes.
There's a joke that while our neighbors had to fight for Uhuru means independence.
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah, Uganda, they gave us Uhuru, and then we're like, hey, we have not fought yet. Then we started fighting. Because we didn't. When you struggle, you and you get paid or you get the reward, it's more precious.
Yes.
And when it's just hand delivered,
Handed over to you.
silver spoon to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But in Obote's, I watched the thing. Obote wasn't the best African president, but his first 8 or 9 years, Uganda economy has never been as good as it was under him. So he's making strides. I think his thing was Idi Amin took over, right? But again, to run an economy like Nkrumah, most of Africa was socialist, which really ruined Africa because you don't have these college graduates, and then you have these ministries where you have people running agricultural sectors, whereas before Tanzania, and that was even in Nywere's problem in Tanzania. Great president, which is why they're doing pretty good now. He destroyed their economy for like, I don't know, almost 20 years. They just didn't have the manpower to run these economies. Same thing with Mugabe. So I also think like in this instance, Africa did start their countries with not a lot of help, not a lot of support, not a lot of, so it's kind of hard to compare it to Singapore.
Yeah.
Plus you have also maybe bigger industries than Singapore had. I mean, because Uganda was like considered the food basket of Africa at that time, which is why Uganda was able to give money to Singapore. So he's right. I think he's right. But at that time, people are they're not gonna look at it like that. People are gonna look at my interactions with you, us as blacks. You the one that lied to me, or I lied to you.
Yeah.
And we didn't do what we said we were gonna do. But that's the best point of the podcast, I believe, for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Now, I'd wanted to ask you, Moshe and Maintain, as foreigners looking in, because you guys were not born on the continent, what was your interpretation of Africa being colonized?
My interpretation was, do you know what? Because I grew up in London, like the relationship between the UK and Africa has always been painted as one that's good, like, oh, there's always somebody doing some fundraiser for some village somewhere for this kid, stop walking 20 million miles to get water and things like that. So as a kid, I saw it as a good thing. But as I got older and I read more and I learned more and more, I came across more African friends, things like that. I learned how damaging it was. And that's so that was basically my view on it.
Oh, okay.
Growing up, it was something I thought was good, and then as you get older, you realize it's not as bad, and they hide a lot of the things they did.
Yeah.
And it just makes you angry.
Okay.
Just makes you angry, yeah.
Okay.
I think like I don't know if I have the words to articulate this, but you think that Africa is one way when you watch it on YouTube videos, and then when you come here, it's like, okay, this is the result of colonization in this particular country, because you look at Kenya, you look at Uganda, you look at South Africa, and it's different countries that have different development. But I think what now, after being here for so many years, is like, well, you can come and think about who were these people before them? Because I'm interacting with the Africans now after colonization, but it was like, well, who were they now? Like, and I think that what you feel is you see a lot of people that have low self-esteem about themselves. That's the main thing that I encounter with Africans, a lack of belief in what they can achieve. They feel like, I think the biggest thing in colonization here in Uganda is that a lot of Ugandans feel like they're lower than other people. If you talk about you're from America, or you talk about like, they automatically feel like, in comparisons to anybody else, that they're not as smart or as talented. So I think what you see is things maybe in certain people or individuals that they do not. And you're just like, well, why do you feel that way about yourself?
Yeah.
And
Can I add something here?
Yeah, sure.
I think one of the good things about this podcast, it's like, Africa's media about Africa has always been not by Africans. Yeah. Because I remember when he was talking about the kid walking 1,000 miles. The first thing that hit my head was, "We feed the world. Do they know it's Christmas time?"
How many times have I mentioned that song?
Yes.
And I remember as a kid, I was like, they're actually talking about me in Africa. I know it's Christmas time and I'm full. I've been just hammering meat.
Everything.
Oh, we are the world, And then when you hear what happened to the proceeds of We Are the World, like they collected winter clothes and brought them to Ethiopia, or winter boots, and and they brought Cabbage Patch Kid dolls to Ethiopia, and yet they are showing images of Ethiopians starving. And the president that time was a dictator also called Haile Gebre, something like that. He chased them away. And I remember Lionel Richie saying we got our things from the plane and we had to reload them and go back. Why? Because what the relief they're giving us they were giving Ethiopia is not what Ethiopia needed at that time. So there's always that this disconnect. And also you can see many of us, why do Africans feel lower than Europeans, because also as we have watched that, we see ourselves, and every time there's a child with with flies on his or her face, and like, this is Africa, feed the child, bones are jutting out from everywhere. It also does something to your psyche. It also traumatizes you. So again, I always ask, like I was talking to Mr. Shaka Salisami years back, and I said, when are African media heads or houses going to have their own CNN on their own Al
Like
Jazeera?
Voices of America, that guy, he's great.
VOA. We always have to run that side.
Yep.
We have to run, as Uganda, you say, outside countries to promote yourself and then come back home. Especially the creatives or anything to do with media.
Yeah.
We need to take a hold of that so that we also give ourselves the right image. We pimp ourselves up. We promote ourselves. We don't wait for Mr. Muzungu to come dangling his carrot,
right.
and then we even in my village, when Bazungu come, people wear smart clothes, and when they see Bazungu, they go and get the rugs and tags and wear them, and start begging for money.
Yeah.
Because on TV, that's what we have been taught, that the poor people are the ones who get the attention from Bazungu. You see, so if they see anything, any like white person, they just change clothes and say, "Oh, Muzungu, give me money." And it's sad. It's sad.
It's definitely sad. Any last remarks, guys?
Last remarks. You got to be careful about what you put out there. Social media. I know we have our titles, and they can lure you in.
Yeah.
But once you're in, just be careful with the rhetoric you're trying to put out there. That's what I would say with regards to the clip we watched. What's your
sending out a warning? Beware.
Beware.
Okay, O'Shea, last remarks.
Great podcast. I just believe that we have an insurmountable workload to do, and we have a lot of opportunities, but a lot of we have a lot of roads and gaps to fill in on the way. Probably can't do it within a generation, so we just need to know that that Africa has a lot of potential. That the diaspora, we need our diaspora. I made a video. The dumbest video I ever made on this channel is that Africa doesn't need the diaspora. That was the dumbest video. I was like, well, Africa has enough potential. And no, I don't think that anymore. I believe that that we all need our people. It's going to be hard to find a way to add value because you have some people sitting on the fence. But why should they want to invest in Africa? And it's not always money. It's just your skills. Extra opportunities. I'll try to do as much as I could to bring Americans here, whoever else here. We brought Woody Maya here. So, we're just trying to do that work. And it's going to be difficult. But if we don't do that work, then governments will know it. Like, look at Afrobeats in Nollywood. The government didn't take that serious in Nigeria. But they made it an industry. Now, it's the second biggest industry in Nigeria. And it's a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, it's Burna Boy selling out in Madison Square Garden. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's not too many American artists selling out in Madison Square Garden. I don't even think Chris Brown would sell out in Madison Square Garden right now. Possibly, but maybe Drake. But that's where we're at. So once we put it in, show the work, stop asking governments for things, be to the position. And I noticed something here before I let Dr. Julie. When Woody Maya came here, there were so many people in the first 24 hours that came to see him. We've been here all the time, right? But they were there. I won't tell you where we're standing. They were there. But you know why? Because all the work he had did. And it showed me like, hey, I just haven't done enough work here yet. So people will come see you when you have success. So we just need to keep fighting for that success. It's not going to be easy. And then we'll be able to change Africa and its diaspora, but it's going to take a lot of effort. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Julie.
Great point.
Any last remarks?
I think O'Shea took. I was going to say, Africans, we need to work together.
Yeah.
We really need to do it. And yesterday, not even
Yeah.
to more positive media about Africa is better for all of us. Okay. For example, I no longer watch BBC African Eye. It is so depressing.
It is.
And about Uganda, it's always something
Bad.
bad about Uganda. Uganda has its good side.
Yeah.
BBC Africa Night, please stop that nonsense. Give us something positive.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't think Western media are interested in that. All right.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Not at all. So we need to do another, if we could have another 5 Wodameyers, whew, you know, it would be something.
Yeah.
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 So thank you.
Thank you.
Last thing. Yeah, we just also, on top of that, working together. Sometimes you have to be the first person to make the first investment. And I know we're looking a lot of times for collaborative things. I know like with this podcast, it was just, all right, we just need to put it out there and see what happens, right? And that's how I met you. And so sometimes you need to be the first investor into your goal. You'll be surprised how many people will help you. A lot of people that can help you, you haven't met them yet. That's my favorite saying. The folks who can help you, you haven't met them yet, right? So always remember that if you have a thing you want to do that unites the Black world, just because it didn't happen on the first, this Kinganda project is going on for 5 years. And we still haven't cracked 100K subscribers yet, but that doesn't stop us from what we do. So just keep at it. Keep at it. Keep at it. People may not recognize you for what you're doing. You know, you have a great idea to work on that. Keep at it, right? Eventually, you're going to get the people that can help you take it there, and you can do the things that even Mr. Beast is doing in Africa, you know, just crazy stuff. So just keep at it. That's all.
Okay, perfect. Well said. I think my last remarks would be, I think if we can move from the victim, I'm a victim, or we need help and whatnot mentality, and, you know, concentrate on being solution focused and solution oriented, I think we can go very far. But Dr. Julie, let the people know where they can find you.
Or you can find me on Twitter, Dimples
Soiji.
Soiji.
It's such a good username.
Yeah, I had to break away from all the academia.
Yeah.
But then Instagram is Dr. Juliet 2023.
Perfect.
So I'm there.
Yeah, tell us about the book, your book.
Yeah, I am a I love children. I write children's books. I have a illustrative children's book out in Uganda. So please go to Aristoc. Because I don't want to go out and then come back home, go outside the country. I'd love us to start here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'd love it to develop. I want to do at least 10 books. Yeah, so this is like the groundbreaker.
Yeah. And it's a lovely book.
How much is it?
15?
It's 15K.
Yeah.
15,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The illustrations are amazing. I think kids from everywhere will benefit from it.
thank
And it's telling an African story, you know?
Yes,
It's not everyday
folklore.
Jack and Jill. We also have our own stories.
Oh, we have wonderful
Journey
folklore, and
Yeah.
we also have Harry Potter versions, but we don't know about them because they're just now being buried for Nickelodeon and,
Yeah, because
and Jim Jam.
yeah, because Harry Potter is seen as Harry Potter, but then if it's in Africa, it's witchcraft.
It's witchcraft. It's
Oh.
juju. Yeah.
I never looked at it like that.
That's true.
Yeah, this man's running around with a wand and doing all
Yeah,
sorts.
that's a bit.
That's white juju.
Yeah, exactly.
Insane.
DJ Maintain on all social platforms. My mixes, my production,
Yeah,
all of that.
And let them know about your Friday thing.
Oh yeah, if you're in Kampala, every Friday I'm at the Drop in Muyenga. Me and King Hanny, we do a karaoke and party night.
It's amazing, guys.
Yeah.
I went there. It was great.
You know it's good if Jonita was there.
You know.
It doesn't go out.
Yeah. O'Shea?
I'm not
O'Shea
coming.
went,
I'm
man.
not gonna be there because y'all might come there and I don't want to see y'all. But O'Shea Duke on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow us on all our social media platforms at Kinganda Nation. Also subscribe to the Pan-African Dating Show. Support.
Support.
Okay, guys, we'll see you next time.
Bye.